Hello and welcome to the Drawing Animal Podcast with Wesley Baird. I am your host, Wesley Baird, and on today's episode we will be talking about the guanaco. It sounds like guacamole, but I assure you it has nothing to do with guacamole. Guanacos are in fact a member of the camel family, more closely related to what you think of as llamas and alpacas. It is a wild cousin of both those animals. That and the other wild cousin, which I won't talk about too much on this one, but is closely related, which is also the vicuna. The guanaco is specially designed to live in the high altitude environments of South America, along the foothills of the Andean Mountains, which stretch all the way from Peru all the way down to the endpoint of Chile, and from about northern Argentina all the way down to near the end of Chile and across the plains of Argentina can be found the guanaco, particularly in a region known as the Patagonia, which is a high altitude plateau which is rocky, often dry, and where there's very little water. Thankfully, the guanaco has adapted to this environment very well. A couple key features being, first, of course, living in a high place can often get very cold, so they have very thick fur, which I will bring up more later at the end of the episode. The other key feature is when you look at guanaco feet, and you compare them to, let's say, a dromedary or Bactrian camel, they tend to be a bit more narrower and more highly padded, because when a camel spreads its foot out, it spreads out wide to deal with that sand so it doesn't sink into it. But a guanaco's foot is a bit more narrower and thus is able to, and harder, thus able to grip on the rocky slopes much more easily, so it doesn't just slip and fall. But the main key thing for how guanacos survive this environment is through twofold. One is they are able to take in as much nutrients as possible from whatever dry food they're eating, so they're very good at getting all the nutrition out of whatever little food there is, especially when there's just almost nothing, and the ability to rely on that for several weeks on end. The other key thing is their blood. So if you remember all the way back to the yellow-rumped leaf-eared mouse and their blood, it's sort of the same thing, and this is often true of a lot of other mountain species, is their blood is elliptical rather than a circle. So when you think of it, instead of thinking like a round, you think stretched out circle, right? And oval. And that's important because what it does is it increases the surface area of the blood cells. So that means that the blood cells can take up and hold more oxygen. So even though there's thinner and less air, they're able to get more oxygen into their blood because of that increased surface area. So that's what allows them to live at altitudes of over 5,000 feet, or more like even meters above sea level. So between 5,000 and 15,000 feet above sea level. The other key characteristics of guanacos is they are also the largest of the South American camels. They're about 4 feet at the shoulder and about 360 pounds. And so all that height and weight produces a pretty stocky, huge creature. And so guanacos, as kind of with their camel cousins, are actually highly aggressive, can be highly aggressive. They've been known to churtle, spit, do all the things. They have very sharp front teeth, and actually some pretty significant canines, actually, despite them being, of course, a herbivore. And all this is used to defend themselves and their young. They will even chase after things like foxes and even mountain lions. They have been known to do some pretty significant damage to mountain lions. Their normal behavior is to run away at the sight of such animals, but if need be and pressed, they will actually go after mountain lions. And this brings me to the other point, which is that the other way they've adapted to living with such creatures is they also have very precocial babies. So just like with most herbivores, precocial is a term that I've used before, and it refers to the fact that they're basically born fully developed miniatures of their parents. So within only 3 hours, a baby guanaco can run up to 35 miles per hour, along with its family. So very well-developed animals, especially needed in an environment where there's some very significant predators and just the kind of environment that they live in, which requires adaptability very quickly. So guanaco babies are pretty impressive to watch. The other thing that I wanted to bring up all the way from the beginning is, of course, their thick fur. Guanaco fur has actually soared in value within the last couple decades, so much that there have been some attempts to domesticate guanacos. And actually what this has meant is, despite some decades past where there was a lot of hunting of guanacos for their fur, the domestication aspect has actually allowed the population to increase, not only domestically but also in the wild. So now there are actually about 1 million guanacos in the wild. But yes, guanaco fur, if you can find it, is considered one of the most valuable furs currently in the world. So I'm not sure if you were to look on the internet if there was anything in North America, that major place that does that as clothes in North America. If you know of one, I would just suggest checking out and just kind of seeing at least what it looks like. It's pretty impressive. So there you are. There is the guanaco. If you would like to learn more, you can do your own research. The main source I used for this episode was a couple of my big old animal encyclopedias, especially one on mammals. But I think San Diego Zoo has a very complete article on them, and I'll see if I can find it and link it in the description. So there you are. Go enjoy animals, enjoy nature, enjoy drawing, enjoy God's creation. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.